Hello, Oracles. How is everyone doing on this wonderful Friday evening? Man, it's been a week. It's not as bad as last week was, but this week was definitely rough. And I apologize. The last two nights, no video. I ended up having an opportunity to get my son on Wednesday, so of course I was going to take that. And then last night I had a very important meeting that I went to, presenting me with an opportunity to be able to earn significantly more money and potentially give me more time to be able to spend with you guys and get more content out to you guys and dive in further. So, very much looking forward to that. And if you guys see it here, I got myself my Be a Good Human merch. If you guys are interested in that, that is in the merch store that is down below. Go ahead and check that out. Very excited about that one. I know some of you have already picked it up, so thank you so much. It's pretty awesome. It's really what it's all about. Just be a good human. What's going on, Raymond? How are you? Gonna be another from no longer great. Wait, yeah, no longer. What's going on, Lang? What's going on, Hanif? Yes, finally Friday. Finally Friday. Yes, Tesla stock rises. It does. So today it went up. It was nice, and you guys know last week I was predicting that by the end of this week we were going to fill that 146 gap. We did not do that, but of course, I'm not always right. Many a times I am wrong, but I try to confidently explain to you guys why I come up with the decisions I make. But at the same time, I'm agile, so I can play both sides of it. So I can come up with my predictions, but I always encourage you guys to do just that. Come up with your own thesis on things, but be agile, go in both directions. It's almost like I'm hedging myself. I'm like, I think this is going to go this way, but just in case it doesn't, I err on the other side. And I seem to do relatively well. Yeah, Matt, I think we will get there. So while we didn't hit it this week, I still do think that 146 gap, 133, 122, and 114 gap, I do think they will all fill. Now it's just a matter of when are they going to fill. So, hey, what's going on, Matt? I was just talking to you. Sorry, little spent. Lang, my Twitter name is Oracle Tim 1, so you guys can check it out there. Oh, hey, Dad, what's going on? Tough day for investors who want a share price to remain around 160. Yeah. If you're looking at a very near term basis, 160, yeah. Pushing up nicely 5.5% today was really nice for a lot of people. But again, it's going to come down to patience. And again, I can totally be wrong, but I do still feel that we are going to be filling these gaps down below us. Now looking at the timing of it, and we know that the market looks ahead. Looking at these things of if the market's looking ahead and we're anticipating a pause, does this mean that this is when the run starts? So I truly don't know. Looks like there's a potential call for a moratorium on shorting bank stocks to save banks from getting pummeled. So I am an investor in SoFi, and SoFi got a nice little bump off of that news today. So it'll be interesting to see if that continues and actually goes through. It may end up being like a buy the rumor, sell the news situation. So when they actually do announce it, I don't think it's going to move up. If anything, it may stay flat or sell off at that moment. But it's a good sign because if you're not allowed to short the bank stocks, then there's no downward pressure as strong as it would be if there was shorting. So a lot of people are concerned about, are the banks going to fail? Should we be shorting the banks because we can make money on that on the way down? And if that is removed entirely, that's just less pressure of it pushing down. Yeah, shorts got burnt today for sure. It's funny how you get these reactions after the FOMC meeting. And I know I didn't talk about it with you guys yet, but now, of course, we got the 25 basis point hike. And sorry, yes, Lang, yeah, Oracle Tim 1, the number 1, not written out. Oracle Tim 1, the number 1. I'll type it here. Oracle Tim 1. There you go. Yeah, so 25 basis point hike, exactly. So I was wrong about us filling the gap, but I was right about us getting the 25 basis point hike. And what's going on, Karav? And so yeah, Matt, I use SoFi. I definitely use SoFi. I'm a big fan of it, actually. That's where I use all my fractional trading. I do all my fractional trading there. And when I get my fractional trades in Tesla up to a full share, I shift it over to my TD Ameritrade account just because I have the majority of my stuff there. So, um, yeah, so the Fed didn't give us a direct indication that we're going to get a pause at the next meeting, but it's still holding with the we're going to go on a um, data by data basis to determine what we're going to do. But he did say that significant wording was removed from what they had said before, which is, they do not have any planned rate increases for the rest of the year. So right now it's just going on a day-to-day, data by data basis. So that's important. That's important. And he even reiterated that in his uh, discussion after the statement came out for the FOMC that was significant that they removed that. So there is a strong possibility that we are looking at a pause at the next meeting as long as the data comes in. So now we're at 5 to 5.25% when it comes to interest rates. That now technically is right at the same level as inflation is based upon the CPI data. So if we see, and I think it's coming out next week, I haven't looked at the dates yet, but I think next week we get the CPI data. If that comes in and it has dropped down below 5%, because right now we're at flat 5, if it drops down below that, I think that's going to give us that indication that yes, the Fed is going to pause. Because as I've said before, I think the Fed is looking to have the interest rates just be above inflation so that they can keep on squashing it down. And that doesn't mean that as inflation comes down, they're going to bring the rates down. I think they'll maintain the level of the rates where they're at for the next several FOMC meetings to make sure that all of the rates that they have increased on us are actually taking effect and continuing to push it down. Chances are they probably want like a 1 to 1.25% gap. So I would say that when we hit that 4% level, if we drop below that, that's when the Fed will start looking at maybe we should start pivoting. And, maybe they drop it down a little bit at that point. But don't forget, as soon as they start to drop it down, that's going to be the indication that the market can start rallying again, even though we know that when the Fed pivots, it typically draws down the market. So lots of other things to get into when it comes to the data points, but I think that's what they're probably going to end up doing is leaving it where it's at, following the data points, and we'll see that pause. So going back to what I was initially saying, does this mean that that indication of the pause, this is now going to be that push going forward? Apple had their earnings; they came out, they did very well. And somebody, Robert, he's not on here yet, but I want to thank him. TSLY and ASLY are two ETFs that I just jumped into. Not doing a lot with them. I don't know enough about them, but TSLY is paying out 74% dividends. So it's a yield max fund. And so I've put a little bit of money in there just to see how it pays out. But like that's significant. So I'm testing the waters on that one. And ASLY is the Apple one. And that one just opened up in the middle. I think it was April 17th. It was the open date on that one, right in the middle of April. So I haven't even paid out a dividend on that one yet. So I'm testing those two out. Again, you guys do your own due diligence and research. That's not financial advice. But if you're interested in them, definitely search them out. Do your research on them and find out if they're good for you. But I'm trying them out because if I can get some massive returns like that, I'll take them. But I'm still relatively conservative. I had one of my CDs matured today, so I rolled that over into another CD, which because interest rates went up, I caught another 4.95% for a 1 month, and I'll go from there and I'll see how that goes out. But I don't mind making that kind of move and making that a little bit there. Matt, interesting. So you know what you've invested in. Thank you for the beta. Yeah. I'm usually one, for the most part, usually one that I'm not going to invest in something that I haven't tried myself. Just like on here with you guys, I'm not going to promote anything to you guys or even on my health and fitness channel when it comes to Beachbody or anything like that. I'm not going to suggest anything to anyone that I haven't tried myself. So if I'm going to invest in a stock, it's something that I am already, if I'm going to suggest you guys, and it's not even financial advice, but it's something that I've invested in myself and I've seen success or not success. And I'll share that with you guys. Health and fitness, Beachbody's done wonders for me. I mean, I'm down 15 pounds now at this point. I hit 191 this morning. So Beachbody working wonders for me. So that is something I would definitely share and promote and encourage you guys to try as well if that's something that you're looking to do. And so yeah, SoFi I've been using. Very happy with SoFi. I even have my credit card through them. I get 2% back. What's great is every purchase I do, so everything I'm doing for literally everything in my life except for my cell phone, goes through that, and I get 2% back. It's like a 2% discount on life, and then they give you points. So those points I can either use as cash to pay off my bill. I can use them and just take that cash out and put it into my own bank account and use it for whatever, or I can invest it. So usually what I do is I set some levels that I like to see Tesla at. I build up my points and I go buy a share of Tesla with it. So it's nice because the discount I get on life buys me stock that I can invest in for the future. Karav, what are you guys thinking for year for deliveries? Whew, man. Just looking at where we're going, I'm just holding with mine. I think deliveries are going to be around 1.8 to 1.9 million for deliveries. Production, I think, will be 1.9 to 2 million. That's my take for deliveries and production for the year. Yeah, sorry, there was something about Mexico up here. Sorry, going back. Sith Lord, when do you think Giga Mexico will break ground? Will they show what will be made out of Mexico? We might actually hear. So the 16th, that's in 2 weeks, a week and a half. We might hear about at the annual shareholder meeting when they're going to be breaking ground officially. I have a feeling it's going to be June or July that they're going to officially break ground there. So it's coming up pretty quick. And whether they're going to show what's going to be out of there, they've already told us that it's going to be the next gen platform. And there's enough indicators telling us that it's going to be the compact car, especially when they've told us that they're looking to be pushing 4 million units out of there. What other vehicle coming out is going to be able to push out 4 million units when we're looking at the 3 and the Y pushing out 1, maybe 2 million from like Shanghai? So if that's the case, then if you're looking at one platform pushing out 4 million, it's going to be the next gen platform. It's going to be the compact car. In my mind, we don't have any they haven't told us officially yet. Maybe they tell us there, but I doubt that. Either way, I have no doubt it's going to be that. Yep, and Corpus Christi is breaking ground this month. Yep. That's going to be the lithium, so that'll be nice. Karav at 460,000 deliveries for the quarter, above consensus around 440K. Yeah, and we're about halfway through the quarter now, so don't forget the quarter ends at the end of June. So, yeah, the Fed's going to pause for a long while, unless, of course, inflation drops drastically. And I think the Fed will only do a massive pivot if we see inflation dropping below 3% rapidly, and we're starting to see signs of a recession. So based upon what Jerome Powell had told us, they're anticipating that they might actually pull off a soft landing. They're anticipating, lower GDP, so like just over 1% GDP for the first quarter. He's anticipating that level for the rest of the year. We'll see if that maintains. I mean, we've been dropping hard about 1% every quarter for the last 3 quarters. So we'll see if that stays steady going into next quarter. I think if we see, something under 1% or something close to 0% going into Q2, there may be some other signs of concern, maybe some market getting concerned about that. We'll see. If you're looking for rhyme or reason for the market reactions, you will not find it now. Nope, you're right. Too much big money scattered all over the boat, rowing in different directions. Yeah, there's just so many people. And think about the fact that a lot of the the Fed banks, a lot of them central banks, have a lot of money in gold. Like they've invested more in gold than they've ever done in history. So even the banks have no idea what's going on. So they're just like, we're going to put our money in a safe place. We're going to put it in gold and just wait this storm out. And that's really what it is. And so what's ended up happening is all of these bigger institutions that are investing are just throwing money wherever they think they can make any sort of safe profits. because literally everybody is anticipating a some sort of recession coming up and a bigger pullback in the future. That's why a lot of the scattering is going on, because everybody's just trying to find whatever they can put money into to make some money before we end up getting that the signs that we're going to be pulling back. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. Yeah, yeah. 2 million is Elon's optimistic number. So don't forget, Tesla's still shooting for the 1.8 million. That's the number they've come up with. This is the first time they've ever given us a specific number. So yeah, I think that's 1.8 to 1.9. I think they're going to exceed their own expectations. But hey, they don't know what's going on. And again, with the Fed raising interest rates even more, that's putting more pressure on demand because people can't buy the vehicles. And that's it. Revenue and profit predictions for 2023. I've got to update mine. And I apologize. I haven't had a lot of time to get into that. Again, I'm hopefully this opportunity that has presented itself to me. I'm going to be making my decision over the weekend, figuring out if I'm going to take this or not. And if I do, that may end up. I don't know. It's a big if, but it may potentially open up some more time for me to be able to dive into this stuff a little bit more. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. I just can't divulge too much information at this moment. Next gen can be compact car or include robotaxi if solved. Yep, and don't forget Raymond. Elon did clarify the robotaxi is every single vehicle that is out there right now is a potential robotaxi. But if we're talking about the platform of like the van type style robotaxi thing, yes, I think that's going to be there. Yes, will we get a glimpse of the next gen car of groundbreaking? I don't know. Wonder if Elon would drop an Easter egg there. Maybe. Totally possible. We'll see. Ooh, BYD is starting to sell vehicles in Ecuador. I mean, man, Sandy Munro said it himself. You look over in China, the Chinese EVs are going to be basically like the Japanese invasion of the 70s with their vehicles. It's going to be the same with China. So do not be surprised if by the end of the decade we're looking at Xpeng Neo BYD vehicles all over the US. I have no doubt that's coming. Yeah, South America doesn't have a lot of charging infrastructure, but that's the key that piece that a lot of people are missing is they don't have it, which means that because they don't have it, it's starting from fresh ground. They're not having to do like they're doing in the US and taking our entire infrastructure and adapting it and redoing it. Again, I've made the analogy before is like with Tesla and Fremont. Sure, they've done great with Fremont and they've done wonders putting production out of there, but it's just not the same as starting a brand new factory and building from there. So you go to South America where they don't have that infrastructure. Now you can start from scratch. You can build it from the ground up. It's fresh territory that you can build on and do it right and not have to spend twice as much money because you're either trying to update the old stuff or tear down the old stuff and put up new stuff in its place. So I think there, Africa, both of those places, there's a lot of, other type of third world type countries that can do very, very well with all of this. Tesla can do very well in all of these countries and provide them something that they've never had before. So I think this is a wonderful place that we're going. Let's see. What might possible barriers or red flags to watch out? Um, In regards to what, Sarah? Just I don't know if you're talking about total economy. I know I'm kind of all over the place. Total economy or Tesla itself? I'll try my best to answer that one. Melissa can't say that. My niece is in play tonight. Oh, nice. That's awesome. What play? Have a great time. Hope she does well. Yes, we'll definitely catch up Tuesday. Thoughts on Model S Plaid Track Pack? That's awesome. The Plaid Track Pack is going to be phenomenal. We also saw the prices going up on the S and the X, so that's a good sign. Tesla bringing up prices on some things, and again, this is basically what we're going to see all year long is just little price tweaks here and there, up and down. And when people have to remember too that when it comes to regular legacy automotive vehicles, ICE vehicles, When you're doing it the way they do it, you don't ever get to see the price changes because they're selling to their dealerships. The dealerships are the ones who are playing around with the prices. And so that's how that all works. We never get to see the behind the scenes stuff. With Tesla, it's totally transparent because there are no dealerships. You're selling right to consumers. So Tesla is basically the dealership. And they say, this is now the price. That's how it goes. So, sorry, is my microphone cutting out? If it is, I apologize. Not sure why. Um, but yeah, that's really what we're going to see all year long, and it's just because Tesla themselves just sell right to people, and of course the market's going to freak out about it because it's disruption. People who are dealing with disruptive stuff, it's new. People don't like new. People don't like change. So sometimes you get new stuff and just bothers you. Taking a look at the charts really quick. Let me get this up here because I believe, and I've got to take a look at it, and I could be wrong, but I think we did create a little bit of a gap today in the middle. And again, we're sitting right in the middle of these two gaps. So we do have the gap that goes up to 177. Let me get it on the screen for you. I'm looking at it like you guys can see too. Let me see here. There we go. All right. So, yeah, so we've got our little gap here. I'll wait till Monday because I'm sure it'll show up then. But I think there's a tiny little gap in the middle here. It's hard to tell on here. I haven't had a chance to dive in, but we started dipping into this gap above us. So now the big question on Monday is: are we going to continue going up and fill this gap? Are we going to stay in the middle of this channel between the two gaps? I mean, my personal opinion is again, we're going to fill both of them at some point. It's just a matter of which one do we fill first. Let's see here. China leapfrog landline with all wireless networks since 2 decades ago, similar with railways, airport. They look so modern when compared to the US. That's one. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out, Raymond. So, in just paying attention to, and Twitter's been great for it. If you guys are on Twitter, some of you may already have seen this. But a lot of the stuff we see about China, they're a lot more advanced than what we see on mainstream media here in the US. Here in the US, we seem to talk about China as, almost like a third world country. Oh, they're not at all. And China right now is pushing for the yuan to replace the dollar. And there's a lot of countries out there that don't like the dollar. The US has pissed off a lot of people. So you've got a lot of countries who are like, you know what? Even if they don't like China as much, they may go and say, you know what? I'm not a huge fan of China, but I like them better than the US. Maybe we're going to go over to the yuan. And we may start seeing some of that battle going on between US and US dollar and yuan. And it's one of the reasons why I told you guys a while back. I was actually looking at potentially starting a little bit of a fund in that currency, just because, hey, if that is going to be the future, if they're going to be very similar to what Japan did in the 70s and they start to take over and their economy does very well, there's a good chance that could be a strong place to put your money. Now, again, I haven't started doing it yet. It's actually it's not easy. I was just trying to find how I can do an account and just put a little bit of money in here and there, but not easy. But I'm not opposed to it. It's just something that's on my radar as I think it might potentially happen in the future. And, right now, last I checked, it was like one US dollar was 8 yuan. So, could be a good investment. Imagine if we got to a point where, they were even, 1 to 1. That would be a good investment. Let's see what else we got in the news today. Sorry, just hopping over to Twitter quick, see if there's anything else new there. What else we got out there, guys? Because I was on Twitter earlier and I saw some things, but it was mostly macro environment stuff. I know Tesla had a few things that had popped up. Yeah, be careful with Bitcoin. Central banks are adapting digital currencies on their own. They are, but don't forget the U.S. dollar has basically been digital for a decade at least now. I mean, that's basically what we've been running on is which is why when we talk about the Fed printing money, they're just not printing money. They're just creating more digital assets. It's not even real. It's all digital. So even now, the US dollar is digital. It's not just up, it's just not officially digital, as we know it, like Bitcoin would be. And I know there's concerns. Like there's two different sides of the coin right now. There's one side that's saying this is why cryptocurrency is so big. If the US dollar is going to collapse, if we've got the banks that are failing, this is why it's important to have cryptocurrency. But then there's another camp that's saying that, yeah, but the governments can just come out and completely, regulate cryptocurrency into oblivion and get rid of it entirely and squash it all. So yes, I think that's a potential on that side with the regulation, but that would be all governments. Just because the US government does it doesn't mean every country is going to do it. There's some countries who are really pushing for it and they're good on that side. So that's why I just have right now it's 12% of my portfolio is in cryptocurrency, and that is it. I'm still keeping it a smaller percentage. I was keeping it at 5%, but my portfolio is still relatively small, so I don't mind it being at 12%. Yeah, Tesla still has to charge a relatively high price for its vehicles. It has to maintain high margins. Tesla can undercut most of the competition to make good margins, but its vehicles are expensive. Yes and no. Don't forget that right now the Model Y is selling for less than the average price of a vehicle in the US. So, granted, yes, it is a fact that the total addressable market for vehicles at $25,000 is significantly higher and bigger, and Tesla doesn't have one there yet, but they don't have to sell them that high. Again, going back to Elon's thesis of they can theoretically sell all of their vehicles for 0% margin because they will make up for that in the future with autonomy and other software. So, yeah, they would take a hit up front, but you go long term, which is what Tesla's thinking is, anyways, long term. You go out long term, that could be massive for them in the future. So again, we're still looking at, 20% margins about. So I'm not thinking that that's going to be a big issue. And if they do drop it down to 0% margins, again, like you said, they're going to bury competition. They're already doing it now, and it'll just make it even worse if they do that. Because who in their right mind would buy, a Ford or a GM when they could buy a Tesla for 20% less? Canada-China relations are not good. Canada will stay with the US dollar as long as our connecting border. Yeah. Yeah. And there's a lot of countries too. Obviously, you would figure every NATO country out there is going to be still with the US dollar. So it may end up being that there's going to be almost a divide down the middle. Like half of the world is going to be the yuan, half the world is going to be the dollar. Why we can't all get along, I don't know. But either way, that may end up being how it goes. There was also talks a little while ago about China, Russia, I don't know if it was Argentina and a few other countries who were trying to come up with their own sort of currency, almost like the euro, and they were all going to bind together and have their own currency. Where that's at right now, I don't know. But that was a talk a few weeks ago. Marty, on a side note, I purchased an electric lawnmower and like the Tesla. It's far superior to a gas mower. So at my job, we sell a lot of power equipment and stuff. So we sell steel equipment. Of course, the two-stroke stuff still sells better than the battery, but the battery stuff is selling very well, and it's getting better, very quickly getting better. We do have their mowers, phenomenal. So, Marty, which one did you get for the electric lawnmower? Because like the battery ones that we have are great. I mean, they're quiet, they do a great job. So honestly, it's not bad at all. Doge, yeah, yeah, John, I'm in Doge. I buy $1 of Doge every single day. That is my way of investing into that. So just $1 a day into Doge, a Doge a day. That's basically it. $1 of Doge a day. So I'm doing that, and it's still at 8 cents right now. Thinking about the fact that it was pushing 70 cents about a year ago, knowing that we were there, I have no doubt we're going to get back. I have a feeling at some point Doge is going to reach the equivalent of basically $1. So if I can keep on investing now at these low prices, when it gets to $1, then I'll have a good chunk of change in Doge. Yeah, this is a big one. Have they found less an energy intensive scheme for Bitcoin mining? Other crypto may be more environmentally friendly. That's the thing too. And while Bitcoin right now is obviously like the the big dog, the big player out there. I think Ethereum is eventually going to be better anyway because Ethereum is going to be the functional one. So, if you're going to compare it to anything, it would be like Bitcoin would be um, like gold, like the store of value, and Ethereum would end up being like the dollar, an actual currency that you're using. So I think that's how it was going to end up going. Um, and that's my take on it. Let me see. I think Tesla should build a PC gaming setup with like 16 gigabits of RAM and be 4K. Would that be possible for a Tesla? I mean, I don't see why not. You can already play the games in their vehicles as it is right now, and it's pretty awesome. So to be able to push it to that level, I don't see why not. But why? But I mean, yeah, I could see it. Let's see. 39,000 Standard Rage 3 will be about 32,000 in 2024. Yep, plus whatever state incentives you might get. So under 30K in mass. Yeah, California's got great incentives. I think there's another West Coast state that has some great incentives also. So yeah, there's some great incentives out there. So a lot of these vehicles, Model 3s, and they now have the Model 3 long range, they have re-released. So that is back out again after an 8-month hiatus. So you can go get yourself a Model 3 long range. So these vehicles are getting lower and lower in prices. And that's the whole thing that you have to pay attention to is when you have new technology that's coming out, as Kathy Wood has explained it, it's a deflationary thing. So you have technology is deflationary. Think about, heck, the TV that's behind me. If I wanted to buy that TV 8 years ago, it probably would have cost me $1,200. I got it for like 130. So that there in itself just shows you exactly how these are going to go when it comes to EVs. Meanwhile, ICE vehicles, because they're so old, they don't have that same growth in technology. Right now, they have to keep going up in price. In order for these companies to make more and more profits, they have to keep on going up in prices. So every year it ticks up a little bit, up a little bit. And they're constantly selling these vehicles for more and more. They're going in the wrong direction, whereas EV prices are going to be coming down. And, we're already at that price parity where the Model Y is now less than the average vehicle price. We will get to the point where that compact car will be lower than that $25,000 price. So that's going to be big. Oh, it's an Ego. Ego's pretty good. Ego is actually something we had looked into as a company selling ourselves as well. So Raymond, actually, an electric mower with AI that can kill weeds would be awesome. The whole killing weeds thing I don't know about. However, they do have, Steel has it. It's a whole setup with an electric mower. It's almost like a Roomba for your yard. And you just set it up and you say, hey, here's the parameters of where you're going to be going to. You set the whole thing out. And this is going to go out and mow your lawn without you being there. It just mows your lawn. And then when it's done, or if it's running low on battery, it drives itself back to the dock to charge up and then goes back out again. This technology exists. It's pretty awesome. Ian, what's going on? Tesla at 5.5% on 5x leverage equals happy days. Ooh, and you're in leverage. Now, are you in leverage on your own doing margin, or is it because of an ETF that you're in? Because again, we're doing TSLY, or I'm doing TSLY, and it's awesome. We get a new king tomorrow, but more importantly, Bitcoin about to go ballistic, and my team Chesterfield in the playoffs on Sunday. Yep. I heard about the king. We've been hearing about that on the news, so congratulations over there. And Bitcoin, Bitcoin's been popping this evening. If any of you guys have been paying attention, Bitcoin's been popping. We jumped up over 30,000 2 weeks or last week or the week before, and now I think we're going to be pushing back up again. So this Bitcoin hit that $16,000 bottom and has been pushing up nicely. Yes, Raymond, different background, and you are correct. Kilimanjaro. I should actually have a competition for you guys every night. We'll see who can guess the mountain right. Or the location. I'm trying to put up nice locations that I want to visit in the future in the background. So we'll see who can guess it right. Let's see what else we got here. So is anybody here going to the annual shareholder meeting? Just out of curiosity, because I know I've seen a lot of people on Twitter getting invites. I know Alexandra's going. Heck, who the hell else is going? I think Jen might be driving down there. I don't know if she has an invite, but I think she's driving down because she just got her RV. And I've like just the amount of people that I've been seeing getting invites is crazy. It was weird because it's almost like I know talking with Brian, we were having the discussion how anybody who had Tesla in their name, like on YouTube and stuff, seemed to be getting shunned for whatever reason. And Elon and Tesla were just not really liking them. But now all of a sudden with Twitter having subscriptions, seems like that's kind of turned around. And there's a lot more people getting invites that didn't get invites before. So it's good to see this going in that direction. I'm just curious if any of you guys are getting invited or if you even put in for an invite on it. Because I did not, because I knew I was not going to be able to go. Um, Something I like about Elon is that he sticks to his guns when the Ross Gerbers and Gary Black start clamoring for advertising. Yeah, and that's hard too. Is when you've got people coming out, and this is one thing that's great though. And Elon loves the feedback, positive and negative, because you need to have that. The more feedback you have, the better. So while some people are frustrated and say, "Hey, shut up, stop talking about that. That Tesla doesn't need to advertise." Think about all of the different ideas, all of the discussions on both sides of the coin, all the different ideas that all of the people in the community are coming up with and expressing over on Twitter. Elon and Tesla and everybody there can see all of this. So think about you as an employer and a company. If you can get so much great feedback and information from so many people who care so much about your company, that can make you better, and you're literally not paying them. You're just like, thank you for these ideas. We're going to take these all into consideration. And you've basically played out every scenario, and we'll see what we can do the best with. So it's not like Elon and Tesla are ignoring all of these people. I think they're genuinely listening to them and just playing out the scenarios. And advertising, I think Elon is just very set, and I believe he's pretty darn correct on the fact that the majority of the reason why the Tesla demand is down is the same as what nobody else is talking about, is all of the automotive market demand is down because it's a large ticket item that is getting slammed with giant interest rates. That's it. That's all it is. It's everybody. It's not Tesla specifically, but if you compare Tesla to everyone else, they're doing pretty darn good. And so that's really what you have to compare it to, is how is Tesla faring against everyone else in the same playing field? You can't just say Tesla against now, while I do think it is Tesla versus Tesla, when you're comparing it that way, you can't say Tesla is doing poorly because their numbers aren't doing as well, when you're not taking into account the fact that everybody's numbers are down. Apparently, investors are concerned with several factors that may slow Tesla's feverish share price growth soon, such as high valuation, competition from colonizers. That's let me see. A large China and Bitcoin exposure, as well as rising material costs. Material costs are going up a little bit, but it's not all of them. That's one thing that Elon had expressed as well, is most of their material costs are coming down. Some are going up still, but most of them are coming down. Lithium prices have just bottomed out. They've just been falling rapidly. And there's even more people producing lithium now. So I can't remember who it was over in Australia, just announced that they're basically doubling their production of lithium. So there's plenty out there about material costs coming down. So even if some go up, it's not a big deal. Their Bitcoin exposure is minimal, and at this point right now, it's going up. So it's actually probably a good thing that it's going up, because they might be able to recognize some of that. I don't know how they're going to do it. But the concerns that investors will have, and this is a legitimate one, is interest rates going up, Tesla dropping its prices basically means that revenue will be lower than expected. That brings EPS down as expected as well. And that's it. But again, that's a near term concern, not a long term concern. So when you're looking at it playing out, that is actually a great signal for people to buy at lower prices in the share price, because as the interest rates go up, the vehicle sales are going to come down, the price of the vehicles are going to come down, Tesla's share price will come down, but we know that that is going to reverse itself as soon as the Fed changes, pivots, and we have interest rates coming down. Then that demand is going to go back up. The total addressable market goes back up. Therefore, prices can go back up. Tesla sells more vehicles, share price goes back up. So it's just going to make that U that we're going to see. And right now we're on the downswing of that U. So we're basically buying on that way down. Eventually we're going to hit that bottom and come back up again. Tesla does a lot of soft marketing, like hosting events. They do. They don't pay mainstream media for advertising. GM Super Bowl ad helped Tesla as GM has no EV to sell. That's so true. The more exposure EVs get, the more people are going to look into EVs. And so even if you look up GM EV, you're going to get information about Tesla. And people are going to say, well, what does GM have? Oh, they don't have much that's out currently. They're not selling much. Where can I get when it's not really available? But a Tesla is. Teslas are available everywhere. Let me look into that one. And then they start doing the comparison between the two vehicles and they realize, oh, Tesla actually has a lot more and it's not as expensive. So, yes, anytime any other company advertises for EVs, it's beneficial for Tesla. And, I've seen like Sawyer Merritt, if you guys are on Twitter, Sawyer Merritt kind of put together his own little ad for Tesla. It was pretty awesome. That was great. And there's a lot of other people who are advertising for them. And again, I'm not opposed to Tesla advertising themselves. Mainstream media, whether that's the place to go or not, I don't know. And thinking about it from Elon's standpoint, advertising on mainstream media is basically undercutting his premise on Twitter and how Twitter is, the future of where we're going to get our news from. So it's kind of like undercutting his own other business of Twitter to advertise on mainstream media. Yeah, the auto market is shrinking overall, but Tesla's growth is continuing. Exactly. Very impressive and lost to most people. And that's the whole point is Tesla is growing. And theoretically all EVs, even when you're looking at GM and Ford, granted very little and very slow, they are still growing their EVs. So EVs are growing everywhere. And that's it. Some aren't doing as well as others, like Lucid obviously struggling. GM could be doing better for sure, but they're still growing while ice is shrinking. And because ice is so massive, that shrinking is actually shrinking the entire automotive market. But eventually that's going to make that turn where the whole automotive market will be going back up again and it'll be more with EVs than ice. And that's a big, big piece that people are missing. I am torn. I was watching Scotty Kilmer about Prius Prime. It's 42,000. I could not believe it. I'll have to check that out because I was years ago before I really knew about Tesla at all. I was looking at getting a hybrid because I was looking at, how can I get better fuel mileage? How can it be better for the environment? So based upon my knowledge, a Prius was a decent option. And for me, it was I didn't realize how expensive it was. That and smart cars are super expensive. I was like, wow, I didn't realize. Like I thought they were going to be a less expensive car. You look at them and they're like, oh, it's a little Matchbox car. It should be relatively cheap, and it's not. Did you see Gary Black's tweet about deaths in Tesla cars? No, I did not. I'm usually pretty all over Gary Black's tweets. I must have missed that one. Sorry, I'm torn because someone wrote no good car under 40K. Model 3, pretty much everywhere. Model 3 is under 40K. I mean, that's a pretty darn good car in my opinion. Yeah, Tesla shares are overvalued by many standards. Tip Ranks, for instance, estimates Tesla's 12-month trailing return on equity to be a modest 12.41%. So, I mean, 12.41% is still good, but yeah, that's the thing that Wall Street's looking at is they see them as overvalued, but they're only looking at 12 months. So sure, maybe in the next 12 months, as we just talked about, interest rates going up and staying high, not going to be great for sales. It's not going to be great for the stock price. That's just the facts, the math facts when it comes to how Wall Street looks at it. That's legitimately all it is. You're absolutely right. But let's look past that. If you're going to be an investor for more than 12 months, that would be a great signal to say, well, if Wall Street is anticipating the stock price being down because of these reasons, but we also know that that is going to turn around within 18 to 24 months, that would tell me just big flashing red lights. By the way, that's your prime time to buy is the next 12 months. So again, not financial advice, but those are just the things that I'm looking at when it comes to how Wall Street explains it, is that's it. Let me see. I said without tax incentives, Model 3 is 2,000 less and 10,000 less with tax incentives. No one knew. Yeah. There's a lot that people don't know, and again, and I think you're right, and when it comes to advertising, stuff like that, and that's one of the things that Sawyer Merritt ended up throwing into his video as well. Um, those are the kind of advertisements I think Tesla could do. And I think that they would do well with those, just to give the public out there the knowledge of, by the way, you buy this vehicle at this price, you're also going to get all of these tax incentives for it. Depending on what state you're in, you might get even more on top of that. So I think that's a good way that Tesla could advertise, is just like that. Mm, da-da-da. Sorry, I just run through everybody's. Uh, Yep, GM is discontinuing the Bolt. Ford has record profit losses of a negative 102%, but the competition is coming when? So GM's discontinuing. So now again, I'm always on the devil's advocate side of things to make sure that the truth is being spoken about. GM is discontinuing the Bolt. They're discontinuing the Bolt because they're focusing on their Ultium platform into next year. And my question was as well, if they knew that they were switching over, why would they have even reintroduced the Bolt? Then someone else, and I can't remember who it was, I apologize, had mentioned that GM probably had obligations and contracts for the Bolt that they had to come back and bring it out. So, to GM's defense, that was their decision. They probably had to do that. Now they're focusing on the Ultium platform. Now we have to wait and see. All right, well, what is 2024 going to bring for GM? Can they actually get this Ultium platform up and running? Ford, record profit losses of 102%. Yes, that is true. But again, I had mentioned the other day, you got to start somewhere. You know, if you're trying to lose weight, if you don't accept the fact that you're at a point that you need to lose weight and just finally say, facing the reality, that's what Ford is doing. And I give kudos to them to coming out and publicly saying, we are not profitable by a long shot when it comes to our EVs. Right now, it sucks, but this is our starting point, and our goal is to improve from here. So now we watch Ford and say, hey, can they improve upon this? So when are they actually coming? I would go ahead and say probably 2025. We'll start to see them making some viable moves. But again, their their progress in 2025 will be like Tesla progress in 2020. They're about 5 years behind. And then at that point, who knows where we're going to be at with Tesla? Is Tesla going to be burying them even further? We'll see. Yeah, without major government help, I don't see any legacy companies surviving except perhaps a shell of their former selves. Yeah, and Ford obviously has already been since the housing crisis. Ford already recognized that. So that's why one of the reasons why Ford didn't go bankrupt during that and didn't need any bailouts was because of the fact that they were actually able to get through this. They got through all of that. They didn't file for bankruptcy. They were good to go because they already shrunk themselves down to what their key sales are. And that's really what it is. And they're going to do the same when it comes to EVs. And they've already said they're going to continue doing it. So, you know, not to say that Ford is going to be a niche company, but it's almost getting to that point where they're a niche company. And hey, they're going to do well with that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're going to do well. Whereas GM, on the other hand, is thinking that they're still going to be the same company they are now, and even getting back to the company that they used to be back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. They want to get back to that type of company, but in the EV manner, and they don't think it's going to be a headache along the way. I think they're fooling themselves. Is it possible? What will the catalyst be where OEM whale investors and institutions abandon OEMs and invest in Tesla? Um, I think the problem is a lot of these big institutions that are invested in legacy OEMs is they pay dividends out, and they've been so heavily invested in them for so long that they're super, super highly profitable on all of them. So it makes no sense for them to dump and switch immediately. But I think a lot of them are already switching over, especially now that Tesla is investment grade rating for credit. we're going to see more and more institutions putting money over into Tesla. And the more institutions go into Tesla, the more other institutions will end up going into Tesla as well. Eventually, they're going to see that legacy OEMs are not the place, they're not going to get the same return from them. So they'll start shifting more money out. And I think we'll see that over the next 5 to 10 years. You're right, Marty. Yep. Just less wrong. That's all you got to be. Just be less wrong. Wall Street stock valuation is all over the map. Salesforce PE ratio is at 940, while Tesla's at 50. Yeah, Tesla's regarded as way overvalued. Yeah, and Nvidia is pretty high too. I think it was like 240 was the PE for Nvidia. And I love Nvidia. Nvidia's I think is a great company. But if you don't think Nvidia is overvalued at 240, but Tesla is overvalued at 50, that means that you are seeing Tesla as a car company and not a software company. Now, granted, you have to take reality into um you have to take a wow, losing my train of thought, losing my mind, but you have to take a step back and realize that Tesla is going to be a software company when it comes to FSD and everything else that they're going to offer. But currently, Nvidia is bringing in the majority of their money from very high profit, high margin items. Tesla is not. That's just the reality of it. That's all it is. So right now, we're still theoretically, like we had talked about before, and as Elon said, we're investing in a car company that also has some very high profitable software startup companies going with it as well. That's kind of where we're at. So the software startup with Tesla is still starting up, hasn't fully gotten there yet. That's what we're waiting on. GM is making a profit and dividend and has both types of autos, gas, and EV, and so many different type of models. So that's one of the reasons why institutions will stay invested because again, if you've been invested in a company, think about Warren Buffett. You invest in the same company paying out dividends for decades and decades, you're doing very well. You've put the time into it and you're doing very well, especially on just those dividend returns alone are going to do very well for you and for all of the people who are investing in your fund. When it comes to the different types of models, that they are going to quickly find out is horribly inefficient. They already knew that before, but they're blind to the fact that trying to do it with EVs, when you have an inefficient model competing against other inefficient models, it doesn't matter because you're both inefficient and you're comparing apples to apples. When it comes to EVs, that's apples to oranges. Oranges are significantly more efficient in this scenario. So oranges being significantly more efficient, you're not going to be, an apple can't compete. And that's it. And that's why that is not going to be the same. And that's where Ford understands this. GM is not understanding it. Decent point here. Tesla's recent earnings report provides plenty of support with the company's bulls. Yep, and that's one of the things that the bulls are looking at is Tesla still continuing to move in the direction that they said that they are, and yes, their earnings reports show that they are. Yet the good news is already factored in the market value and the company's shares, and then some. Yes and no. I would say now looking back with hindsight, the massive run we had after COVID until we started crashing in the beginning of basically end of 2021. That I think was a lot of future priced in, a lot of future priced in. So you're looking at, the potentials of Optimus and energy and everything. You were probably priced in through probably 2027 at that point, what we saw for the last couple of years. So that I think was priced in. Where we're at now, I think we're trying to still figure out, are we still having future priced in or not? And I don't think we do. I think we're starting. I do still think we're going to see a pullback just because of the macro environment. So I do still think there's better buying opportunities ahead of us than right now. But I could be totally wrong, which is why I still buy every day. But definitely nowhere near as much of the future value is priced in. Maybe 2 years is priced in right now, but that would be at the most, in my opinion, would be 2 years versus in the last couple of years, I think we had maybe 7, 8, even 9 years priced in. So I think that right now is the battle that's going on is how much of the future is priced into Tesla, and that's just it. Wall Street just looks at Tesla's passengers car biz exactly. They're missing the FSD megapack semi business. When they hit the valuation will rocket. This is one of the reasons I love Gary Black because he speaks both languages. He's a huge Tesla bull, but speaks Wall Street. That's how they price it in. So when you're looking at Wall Street's only looking out 6 to 12 months. That's it. They may look out further down the road, but they're investing based upon the next 12 months of their thesis. That's why price targets come out based upon 12 months. That's it. So when you're looking at that, you look at the company itself and what are they going to be producing in the next 12 months? Well, based upon the knowledge that we have right now, they're going to be producing passenger vehicles in the next 12 months. Yes, they've got the semi, but what further information have we gotten about the semi since release date? Nothing. We do have the Cybertruck coming out at the end of this year. But what other information do we have about the Cybertruck to this point? Nothing. You've got FSD that they are still working on. We've got 11.4 that's out there right now. It's awesome. But has FSD been solved and regulated yet? No, that has not. Do we have proof that it's going to be done by the end of the year? No, we do not. Is energy growing? It absolutely is. But is it still being dwarfed by their passenger car business? Absolutely. So this is why when you're looking at it from a Wall Street standpoint, they are only looking at 12 months. 12 months, the only thing that Tesla has coming in, passenger car revenue that is actually going to make a difference to their bottom line. That's it. So again, but as you said, as soon as we get information on these other things, that's when you're going to see the needle move upward. So if you get, hey, semi information coming out that is actually going to move the bottom line, ooh, now we can see a change in the stock price based upon the semi. Cybertruck, how is that moving the bottom line? Energy, FSD getting solved and regulated. All of a sudden, Tesla's recognizing significant chunks of FSD revenue for massive profits coming in. That is going to be huge on the bottom line. That's when all of a sudden Wall Street's going to be like, ooh, now we see true numbers coming in. Now we can factor in FSD revenue for the next 12 months and the growth based upon that 12 months. That's when we start to see that kick into the stock price. So again, that's just how Wall Street looks at it. And this is why so many people who are bulls get frustrated about the stock price being lower than they think it should be, because they still have to remember that Wall Street are the ones who are controlling the market and the stock price itself. And they're only looking out 12 months. So yes, you and I think that the stock price should be much higher because we're looking 5, 10 years down the road. Wall Street's not. Tesla book value is around $15 and GM book value is around $50. How do we come up with that? Just out of curiosity. Book value. Just out of curiosity. I'm not one to tell anybody that they're wrong. So I always like to hear everybody's side of everything to be able to get better insight into stuff. Da, 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 da. Sorry, I'm reading some of these comments in here. Yeah, barring multiple asteroid strikes, nothing can stop Tesla for better or worse. And that was one of the things that, we're seeing things changing massively, and Tesla is disrupting a lot of things. So, in my opinion, not even going asteroid strikes, I think whatever is going to stop Tesla from growing at the rate that they're growing at is going to be so massive and catastrophic that we're going to have much bigger problems on our hands than whether Tesla stock is crashing or not. Tim, will you visit Giga Mexico or Giga Austin to your Cybervan journeys? Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm, being in Connecticut, I'll probably just do, that maybe that's not a bad idea. Maybe do a mapped out full tour of all of the North American factories, and I'll hit New York first, head on down to Austin. By the time I do it, who knows where else they're going to have factories. But I can head down to Austin, then I can head down to Mexico, head on up to Fremont. I could do Lathrop. I could do Giga Nevada. Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'll do a full journey just for the gigafactories that we have here in North America. That'd be awesome. Great idea, Hanif. I will definitely do that. Buy a lot of different types of yeah, I agree, and, Michael, I'm one as well. Is while I do have well, it's down to 65% of my portfolio is in Tesla, I'm all over the place too. All these people who are all in on Tesla, kudos to them. No, nothing against that, nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. You guys want to do that. We all have different risk thresholds. But I have a significant chunk. The majority of my money is in CDs right now, just getting me, 4.7 to 5.1% returns. I'm putting more and more money into high end, high yield dividend ETFs. And I have a bunch of other little stocks as well. And I don't put a lot of money into the other stocks because, I do think they're going to do well in the future, but I don't see them doing as well as Tesla. But I do like to keep myself diversified. So no, that's not a bad idea. Did you know Boston Dynamics is owned by Hyundai? Yes, I did know that. I did know that. Blew my mind since they do a lot of defense work as well. Yeah, I knew Hyundai was owned them. So that was why we were talking a while back about whether Tesla buys them or not, and we're like, oh, but Hyundai owns them. So heck yeah, I will. Tell was a gig of Mars in the cyber van when the time comes. Yes, I will. If I have a chance in my lifetime to get to Mars, I'm gonna do it. Uh, yes, you're right, Marty. Once FSD hits, then Wall Street review them as tech. That's a great point too. So thinking about just the way that they're valuing them and pricing them out, when they do see FSD coming in, as soon as they can recognize that FSD is going to produce more revenue than the vehicle sales, that's when all of a sudden the price will not only go up itself because of the fact that they're going to be bringing in a lot more high profits, the PE ratio will also go up. Thinking about the companies like Nvidia who are trading at 240 times earnings right now, Tesla's trading at 50 based upon EV sales alone. You start factoring them in as an software FSD tech company like that, and a tech company, we could see PE jump to 150. So you take those extra profits that they get from FSD and multiply that by the PE going up maybe 2 or 3x. That's a massive bump to the stock price as well. Let me see. The news about this about semi is that Pepsi received the semis. Yep, Pepsi semi was in the works to test the balanceability of transporting liquid. Yeah, and that's really where it's at. So we don't have any further information about the semi when it comes to, like we see for the other vehicles. Like, hey, the semi they're selling, 2,000 this quarter, 5,000 this quarter. This is how much they're selling them for, and this is their projections for the future. We're not getting any of that information right now. Yeah, and the energy piece of things is going to be huge too. And energy profits will go up. I mean, think about the fact that they're now pushing 11% profit margins on energy, and that has grown massively over the last few quarters. That's just going to continue to go up as well. Tesla SpaceX crossover will be interplanetary vehicles, perhaps. So maybe we're going to have SpaceX is going to have Starship, and then we're going to have Tesla little vehicles. Like they're gonna, like little pods, Tesla pods come off of Starship. That'd be awesome. Yeah, boring company for digging mines. For those of you who are newer, a while back, talking about all of Elon's companies and getting up to Mars, you put all of his companies together. Think about how it's going to work. You're going to have Starship is going to take a bunch of Optimus bots up to Mars because it's not going to be safe for humans at first. They're going to build the colony up there. They're going to use the Boring Company to go underground, just like you see in the movie Total Recall. You can get humans out of the elements. It's easier to build underground cities than it's going to be to build above ground cities because you don't need the same materials. So you now build underground colonies with the Boring Company, Optimus, SpaceX. All of his companies are right there. How do you communicate back and forth? Starlink. There you go. Then you go up there, and what are you going to use for communication as far as like a news channel, let's say? You've got Twitter. All of Elon's companies are ideal for creating a new civilization on another planet like Mars. So, yeah, it just makes a lot of sense. Oh, company more than the stock. Okay, gotcha. Let me see. That's old. Lang. We plan to buy another power wall and more solar panels. Hope there's a price coming down. The salesperson comes today. Oh, awesome. Yeah, keep us posted on that. 15,000 for the first power roll and solar panels. When I do get a house, I do plan every house that I buy, and I do plan on getting real estate. Every one of them is going to have solar panels, power walls, and Starlink. Every single one of them. It makes total sense for whoever's going to be there, whether it's an Airbnb or I've got long-term renters, to do the right thing for them and keep their expenses down as well. That is exactly what I'm going to do. So keep us posted on how it's working out for you. Yeah, yeah. Las Vegas is expanding their boring tunnel system. It'll be a template for the rest of major cities in the U.S. And again, that's what it's going to be. So you're not going to see boring tunnels everywhere, but when you've got places like huge cities that have massive traffic problems, you start running things underground. That's the way it's going to go. It's going to be like subway systems, but with vehicles. That's it. Yeah, Microsoft and Nvidia are bullish because of ChatGPT and OpenAI. Yeah, AI is a big one too. So you have to look at when you're looking at a broad spectrum and who you want to invest in, look at where is the world moving to. The world is moving to EVs, the world is moving to renewable energy, the world is moving to AI. That's where we're going. So invest in companies that are moving in that direction and doing well with it. That's it. It's pretty easy and straightforward to do a lot of that. Obviously, you can pick and choose, and some are going to fail. But for the most part, you can see who's going to do well in those fields, and even if they're not the top dog, they're still going to do well because of them. Obviously, you've got Google, Facebook, who else? Sorry, Apple, Microsoft. All these companies out there are competition with each other, and they all do well. So it's not like only one of them is going to win. Let's see. Me jumping off in a minute here. Been on for over an hour, and I got to bed super late last night after my meeting, and I didn't sleep well at all. Had a lot going through my head. I'm excited to share this with you guys when I finally can, but huge opportunity. Very much looking forward to potentially taking it. I just got to run some details, but as of right now, it seems like I think I'm going to take it. Starlink is very aggressive in its expansion. Yeah, Starlink. They just said, what was it? Oh man, I forget the number. I apologize. A few thousand or something. They just launched another whole bunch of them up there. Talks of Starlink IPO this year. Yep. I heard about that this year potentially, or 2024. Either way, I've got a good chunk of cash on the sidelines, and I'm really just waiting for Tesla. But if Starlink's gonna IPO, I think I might jump in on that. GM shutting their most produced EV. I don't get your logic. So they're shutting it down because they're switching over platforms. It makes sense. It does. Because if they're going to be investing in the future, of what they think is the future of their EVs, there's no point investing in old technology. So that's why they would do it. But at the same, so it's like them cutting out ICE as they're switching over to EVs. So why they would cut out the Bolt altogether, I don't know. That's actually not a bad question. Is if they were going to cut something out, why wouldn't they cut ICE out? Maybe they're just not profitable on the Bolt either, and they decided that if they're profitable on ICE vehicles but not profitable on the Bolt, it makes more sense to cut out the thing that they're not profitable on and then switch over to something that may be more um, cost effective when it comes to their Ultium platform. They know the numbers. I don't know, but um, why doesn't Tesla offer 0% financing then to cut prices on their cars? I paid my Model Y off 0% check from Discover. I think that's something that they've been talking about is getting into financing themselves. Whether they can finance at 0%, I don't know. But I think based upon the interest rates, they probably should get into it. I mean, thinking about the fact that legacy automotive makers make a lot of their money from financing, it would make sense for Tesla to get into it. I don't know the logistics and realities behind it all, so I don't know all of that, but it would make sense. Tim, wonder if you have any comment on ABML and Ryan Melsert, formerly with TSLA. I don't because I do not know anything about it. I will have to take a look at that. I did not hear anything about it, and I do not have any information to be able to comment on that. Yeah, they have press releases. They have 20 models, but reality is quite different. Yeah, and that's really what it is. Think about when Tesla was coming out talking about we're going to do all this, we're going to do all that, and the media just shit all over them because they're like, well, yeah, show us what you got, and then Tesla's like, all right, and they showed us what they got. Tesla's like, we're going to do this. They came out and did it. FSD, different story, but when it came to the actual vehicles themselves and production numbers, they did it. Meanwhile, you've got GM saying they're going to do all these things. How many Hummers did they sell last quarter? Two? Yeah, awesome. Two. So, Tesla is backing up their statements with actual actions. GM is not. Ford's not doing a terrible job of it. They're not doing as much as they say they're going to, but Ford's decent. But yeah, GM, man, they're just like, hey, we're going to do all this. We're going to do all this. Like, all right, cool. Now, I'm one to say, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to say, hey, I'll give you some time. You say you're going to have these out 2024, 2025. 2025, you say you're going to be producing a million. See it happen because just a reminder, by then, Tesla's going to be producing a million per quarter at least. So see if you're going to be there. We'll find out. All right. Well, at this point, guys, I'm going to head off of here. You guys have been fantastic as always. Thank you for ending my week strong. I have a very busy weekend. I'm going to try to do a 10-mile hike tomorrow. While I'm on my hike, I will be doing a video for my other channel. If you guys are not over on my health and fitness channel, please check that out. Oracle Health and Fitness. I'm trying to build that channel up as well to kind of get the both sides of things, the health and the wealth side of stuff. So if you guys are interested, check that out. I'll have a video there. And I'm going to try to do my updated income and investments video this weekend also. Hanging out with my two best friends. It was their birthdays recently, so we're celebrating that tomorrow night. So we're having some fun. Otherwise, you guys, awesome as always. I will see you guys later.